Good afternoon, everyone. From a stormy, super stormy day over here. Hope that you guys are doing well and maybe the weather's just a little better on your side of our planet, wherever that might be. Could be here, there, anywhere in between. Hope you all are doing well. As today, we're going to go ahead and listen to this artist, Neil Ardley. We're going to go ahead and listen to these two tracks off of his album Kaleidoscope of Rainbows, which I love that album title, which was released in 1976. Those first two tracks being a prologue and then Rainbow 1. And just looking at the track listing, every track besides the ending track, the epilogue, is also named Rainbow 1, 2, 3, and going on and so forth. We're listening to this track because it was suggested and sponsored by Joe. Joe, thank you so much for the recommendation. Thank you so much for the support as well. Joe, you said that I've covered quite a bit of your favorite albums, and this is also one of your favorite albums as well. I can't say that I've heard of Mr. Ardley, but if I had to guess, looking at the album cover, looking at the name, I'm thinking kind of ambient. I'm thinking kind of classical. I'm thinking ambient. That's where I'm guessing that we're going to be diving into. But listen, there is one way to find out, and that is to dive into the music itself. And can I say another thing, actually, that Joe said that was quite interesting? Let me pull up your email, Joe. You said this one is a little more obscure, but a brilliant listen. Featuring Ian Carr from Nucleus. Okay, I have one Nucleus albums on my wish list to get to. You said that you're interested to hear what I'll think and that it will get few views, very little views. I've been doing YouTube now for 6 years? On this channel? Longer elsewhere? I have never cared about views to that extent. I don't care. If I wanted to get more views, perhaps I'd choose music that would get more views and certain things that would get more views. I should also plug in my headphones up. But you know what? We don't worry about that here. I literally don't care about views. Could be 5 of you watching. Could be 5,000. Could be 5 million. Honestly, I'd prefer it if it's not 5 million. I don't think I want that kind of pressure. I'm very happy with, for lack of a better word, my lot, our niche community. I'm extremely happy, and I'm happy whether, I like views in the sense of more people are listening to the music. Don't need it from me. I don't need the attention. I do enjoy when there's a lot of views when it comes to maybe a niche artist or someone that maybe isn't as recognized, I think that's really fantastic. But for me, I'm good. Let's go ahead and listen. Gotta stay humble. Let's go ahead and listen to these tracks. We'll discuss them after. Here we go. So not ambient. Don't laugh at me. My eyes were closed. Did I play prologue or was it that short? Don't. I'm going to interrupt the music. Did I play prologue? Was it that short? It was that short. Okay, I'm sorry. I closed my eyes and I was just zoned out. I will let it run one more time. I don't know why I thought it was going to be longer. I said, did I misclick? No. Okay. I really thought it was longer. Okay. One more time. is like Philip Glass and Can put together. Like a rainbow, there's a lot of different layers of color in an overarching kind of scheme. I like how it sprung out of that. Cool sound. Kind of jazz. It's kind of Gentle Giant in a little way. I don't know why that reminds me of it. I like how they just switch into these grooves out of nowhere. This is down now. That reminds me of something. That ending reminds me of something, of another piece, and I can't for the life of me think of what that is right now. Okay, so I was completely off when it came to the genre guessing. I thought this was going to be ambient, maybe even with the album cover, I was leaning towards like a Tangerine Dream kind of electronic kind of ambient. Nope. I'd have to look into Neil Ardley, and we will look into him, because this sounds to me like almost like a Canterbury scene jazz kind of sound. In the beginning, I was thinking Can, just with the way that the beat grew up, the way it progressed and started, just kind of sticking down the groove, and the rest of the instrumentation would kind of come on top of it. And then it would kind of play off of that. Some of the playful moments in here remind me of Gentle Giants at their jovial kind of sound, when they kind of go off and do those little playful snippets. Then it kind of kept morphing itself into something different. I was kind of getting reminded of Soft Machine in some ways. But what I thought was kind of unique is there's a lot of classical instrumentation in this particular piece. You have different saxes, you have flute, you have flugelhorn, trumpet from Ian Carr, bass clarinet, and more, much more. Vibraphone, we heard that dancing around there in a glittery fashion at one point briefly. There's a lot of classical instrumentation, but this is clearly playing towards something more jazzy. So it's really interesting how this all comes together, and that's perhaps why I'm kind of getting this Canterbury scene kind of sound from the band, even if, I don't know, maybe he is part of the Canterbury scene. I just can't say I've personally heard of him. So let's do a quick Google search, because I'm kind of curious about Mr. Ardley. So I'm on his Wikipedia page right now. Bada bing, bada boom. He's a prominent English jazz composer and pianist who made his name as the author of more than 100 popular books on science, technology, and on music, as we heard. Employed some of the best musicians, Ian Carr, as we've heard. I was just curious if he's a part of the Canterbury scene or not. Not that I can see, not at least directly mentioned from what I see. But the music very much sounded like it. And I thought that was so cool how at first, of course, you get a little bit of ambience in the prologue just to kind of build us up. And then it locks us in a groove. The bass playing comes in this moving, bubbling, but it's a thick bubble of groove there. And it kind of plays, at least initially, almost off time slightly with the drums, not playing so straight. It plays kind of off. Let me see if I can pull up who's playing the drums on here. Roger Sellers is performing the drums, and Ardley himself is not only the musical director of this project, but he is playing the synth as well in this track, and on the album, I should say. And then the bass playing is going to be by Roger Sutton. And so the way that those two come down together in the groove, it's like puzzle pieces that you can't see them coming together, but they perfectly interlock right into their particular groove. And I thought that was really interesting, the way that they lock in here. I'm going to pull them up here. Gotta get where am I on Rambo 2? There we go. I was wondering why I shouldn't have had to keep skipping ahead so far. That groove is really, it's a solid moving piece right there. And all the playing that happens on top of that, I think, this is my theory, the album title is Kaleidoscope of Rainbows. Each of the tracks in here is Rainbow 1, Rainbow 2, so on and so forth. And like a rainbow, all the instruments build on each other with a completely different color, each bringing their own hue, their own vibrancy, their own sound and tone, but they build upon each other so that the whole first 3 minutes or so before it breaks away into like its more jazz form kind of sounds almost like a Philip Glass, like in the way that there's repeated melodies and then the instruments are playing on top of each other. So that when you get to this part, it's just an assortment of them, right? Even the horn there, the sax, like you get so many different sounds. And I think that that's really interesting how they build it up into this part, because I actually really liked that section and I liked what came after, no doubt about it. But I actually really liked this part as it just kind of repeated and built up and layered upon itself. I thought this was a really great section. My favorite, to be honest, is the whole intro of this. And then, of course, the music breaks away and they explode off that groove. I love that little synthy sound, that kind of hollow whistle that kind of sneaks on through. But I like how they break away from that groove and then they start to put down just some really great jazz. After that, they just kind of go off and start to really get down. And I like how eventually, like, every instrument gets its own place. Maybe not a full solo in typical jazz regalia, but like it gets a moment in the sun. Drums, of course, come up a little bit more further on. You have these hits, the marching beat that comes in. And then this reminds me of, who's the bassist I'm thinking of? Oh, I had his name. I can see his face. I can see the album cover. We've listened to like several of his songs, his solo material. Wow. That is sad. His name, it literally just escaped me. We've listened to several of his songs. Oh God, that's gonna bother me. I'm completely blanking on who I was thinking of. Jeez, that's going to bother me. Anyways, but the style, it moves into that, and I love how funky this is. The bass is clearly moving to a funky way. Stanley Clarke. That's what I'm thinking of. And I just love how it moves into that particular section while the other instrumentation continues to dance and flourish in its own way surrounding it. And then this sax. There's just a little bit of a mysteriousness that pops in here, and it gets very psychedelic, especially with the additional percussion that takes place here. Liam's out there having a lot of fun. Like, with the additional percussion that comes in and the way that they begin to play there, it twists itself and swirls itself into something very psychedelic there, which I think is really interesting. And like, I guess that's why my initial reaction upon listening to this is kind of leaning towards the Canterbury scene, just because of all the different influences that are seemingly in here. And I love how it comes back to this main melody. This part is very Gentle Giant to me. It's so playful. And it's one of those moments that repeats in this track, but it's a section that in its repetition, I love how it creates this cool breakaway from the rest of the solos, the verse, the choruses, and it's just like it's just a fun little break, and then they get back down to playing something cool, fuzzy, and jazzy. And it ends very softly as eventually it kind of moves itself into the final track there. I think that this was a really cool piece of music. I really liked this. I love the beginning. I actually was hoping that it would stay in this like sound. I love the way that the bass bounces. And then the rest of the instruments start to kind of swirl those melodies around in their big pot, their cauldron of melodies and colors. I like that. This was fun too. You know, when it hopped off of that train. But I love this. It's a slow groove. And like I said, you have a lot of different musicians involved in here. And here, let me put you guys up here real quick again. Like I said, there's a lot of classical instrumentation as well in here, besides all the usual suspects, so to speak. I enjoyed that. And also I totally forgot to mention in the beginning that I saw that this track in this album actually had also been recommended by George Davis. I caught you at the end. I got you in there. Yeah, let me know what you guys thought of this in the comments down below. I hope that you enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed your time here, whether you're 1, 5, 10, 12 people. I appreciate you being here. Joe, thank you once again for the suggestion and for the recommendation. I appreciate that. Appreciate the support. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. With the thunderstorm that's happening out there, there may be a chance, actually, get a decent rainbow. Have a fantastic one, everyone, and I will see you all tomorrow. Bye.